Jinho Kim wiped the sweat from his forehead as he walked through the busy alien marketplace. The air on Valdris Prime was thick and humid, making his Earth Defense Force uniform stick to his skin. Around him, dozens of different alien species bought and sold strange goods. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few looked almost human except for their odd-colored skin. He had been stationed on this planet for 6 months now. His job was simple: keep the peace and protect human interests. Most days were boring. He walked around, checked security systems, and filed reports that nobody back on Earth probably read. But today felt different. A loud shout caught his attention. 3 large reptilian aliens were surrounding someone near a fruit stand. They were Korvax, aggressive lizard-like creatures that caused trouble wherever they went. Jinho could see they were bothering someone, but the crowd blocked his view of who it was. "Hey," Jinho called out as he pushed through the crowd. "What's going on here?" The 3 Korvax turned to look at him. They were each about 7 feet tall with green scales and sharp teeth. The largest one hissed at Jinho. "Go away, human. This does not concern your weak species." Jinho stepped closer and saw who they were bothering. It was a young woman, but clearly not human. Her skin was very pale, almost white like snow. Her hair was long and black. When she looked up at him, her eyes were a strange purple color. Most unusual were her teeth. She had small fangs like a vampire from old Earth movies. "Are you okay?" Jinho asked her. She nodded but looked scared. "They want me to pay extra taxes for trading here. But I have already paid the correct amount." The biggest Korvac laughed. "Bloodsuckers always lie. Your kind thinks you are better than everyone else." Jinho stepped between the woman and the Korvax. "She says she already paid. Do you have proof she owes more?" "We do not need proof, human. We are the authority here." "Actually, you're not." Jinho showed them his security badge. "I am, and harassment of traitors is against coalition law." The Korvax looked angry. The biggest one reached for a weapon on his belt. "Stupid human. You do not know who you are dealing with." Jinho moved fast. His training kicked in. He grabbed the Korvac's arm and twisted it, making him drop the weapon. The other 2 rushed at him, but Jinho was ready. Earth martial arts were unknown to most aliens. He used their size against them, dodging their clumsy attacks and striking at weak points. Within minutes, all 3 Korvax were on the ground, groaning. Other aliens in the marketplace watched in surprise. Humans were still new to the galaxy, and many species did not know what they were capable of. "Next time, follow the rules," Jinho told the Korvax as they slowly got up and walked away. He turned to the pale woman. "Are you hurt?" "No, I am fine. Thank you." Her voice was soft and musical. "You did not have to help me." "Of course I did. Those guys were bullies." Jinho smiled and extended his fist toward her. "I'm Jinho Kim, Earth Defense Force." The woman stared at his closed fist with confusion. "What? What are you doing?" "Oh, sorry. It's a human thing. We call it a fist bump. It's like a handshake, but more casual. Just bump your fist against mine." She hesitated, then slowly made a fist and touched it to his. The moment their hands met, Jinho felt a strange tingle like a small electric shock. The woman's eyes widened and she quickly pulled her hand back. "That was interesting," she said quietly. "I am Mirai. Nice to meet you, Mirai. What species are you, if you don't mind me asking?" "I'm still learning about all the different aliens in the galaxy." For a moment, she looked surprised by the question. "We are called Sanguines. We come from far away." "Cool. Well, if those Korvax bother you again, just find me or one of my team members. We're here to help." Jinho looked around the marketplace. "This place can be rough for newcomers." "You are very kind," Mirai said. "Most species either fear us or want something from us. You just helped. That's what decent people do, right? Help each other out." Mirai smiled, showing her small fangs again. "Yes, I suppose it is." They talked for a few more minutes. Mirai asked about Earth and human customs. Jinho told her about his home in Seoul and how different Valdris Prime was from anywhere on Earth. She seemed genuinely interested in everything he said, asking thoughtful questions. "I should go," Mirai finally said. "My companions will worry if I am gone too long. Will I see you around? I patrol this area pretty regularly." "Perhaps," she said with a mysterious smile. "Goodbye, Jinho Kim." As she walked away, Jinho noticed that other aliens in the marketplace seemed to watch her with a mix of respect and fear. That was odd. She seemed nice enough, just a little shy. His communicator beeped. It was his squad leader, Sokman Park. Jinho, where are you? You missed your check-in. Sorry, sir. Had to deal with some Korvax causing trouble in Sector 7. Again? Those lizards are becoming a real problem. Come back to base and file your report. Jinho walked back through the marketplace thinking about his encounter with Mirai. There was something different about her, something he couldn't quite figure out. The way other aliens looked at her suggested she was important somehow. But she had seemed so normal, so friendly. When he got back to the human outpost, Suckman was waiting for him. The older man had been in the military for 20 years and had seen action in the frontier wars. He was tough but fair, and he looked out for his soldiers. What happened with the Korvax? Suckman asked. Jinho explained the situation, leaving out most of the details about Mirai. For some reason, he felt protective of her privacy. You need to be careful, Jinho, Suckman warned. We're still the new guys in the galaxy. Getting into fights with established species could cause diplomatic problems. They were harassing a trader. That's against coalition law. I know, and you did the right thing. Just try to avoid making enemies if you can. We have enough challenges without adding more. That night, as Jinho wrote his report, he kept thinking about the moment when he and Mirai had touched fists. There had been something electric about it, something that felt important. He had met many aliens since coming to Valdris Prime, but none of them had affected him like that. He looked out the window of his small quarters at the alien city below. Somewhere out there, Mirai was probably going about her business, whatever that was. He hoped the Korvax wouldn't bother her again. Something told him that despite her small size and quiet manner, she could probably take care of herself. What Jinho didn't know was that at that very moment, in a secure compound on the other side of the city, several very worried aliens were having an urgent meeting about their missing leader, and in a luxury suite high above the marketplace, Mirai was staring out at the human outpost, touching the hand that had bumped fists with a simple Earth soldier who treated her like just another person. For the first time in her very long life, someone had shown her kindness without knowing who she really was. The feeling was both wonderful and terrifying. 3 weeks had passed since Jinho met Mirai in the marketplace. He had seen her several more times during his patrols. Each time they talked a little longer. She asked many questions about Earth and human culture. He found her curiosity refreshing compared to other aliens who seemed to think they already knew everything about humans. But strange things were happening around the human outpost. It started small. Their food deliveries began including expensive items they had never ordered. Real coffee from Earth, fresh fruits that cost more than a soldier's monthly salary, and protein bars that actually tasted good. Where is all this stuff coming from? Asked Taehyun Lee, the communications officer. He was looking at a box of chocolate that was supposed to be impossible to get this far from Earth. Someone must have made a mistake, Seokmin said, but he looked worried. Taehyun, check our supply orders again. Taehyun spent hours going through their computer systems. Sir, according to our records, we only ordered basic supplies. But someone has been paying for premium deliveries. The weird thing is I can't track where the money is coming from. More strange things happened. Alien diplomats who had never spoken to humans before started asking for meetings. Important trade representatives wanted to discuss business deals that would have been impossible for Earth just months ago. The Zentari ambassador wants to meet with us tomorrow, Sockman told his team during their morning briefing. The Zentari. They're one of the most powerful trading species in the galaxy. Why would they want to talk to us? Jinho was thinking about this when he saw Mirai at their usual spot near the fruit stand. She was examining some strange blue fruits that looked like glowing pearls. Those are Velian star fruits, he said, walking up to her. Taehyun tried one last week and couldn't talk for 3 hours. They're too spicy for humans, Mirai smiled. They are quite mild for my people. We have strong stomachs. Lucky you. So what brings you to this part of the marketplace today? I enjoy our conversations, she said simply. You see things differently than most species I have met. They walked together through the market. Jinho noticed that other aliens seemed to watch them, but he was getting used to being stared at. Humans were still unusual enough to attract attention. Can I ask you something? Jinho said. What do you do for work? I mean, you seem to have a lot of free time to wander around markets. Mirai was quiet for a moment. My job is complicated. I make important decisions for my people. Like a manager or something? Something like that, yes. They stopped at a small cafe that served drinks safe for most species. As they sat down, Jinho noticed a group of aliens at another table whispering and pointing at them. "Not at him, at Mirai. Do you know those guys?" he asked. Mirai glanced over and her expression became serious. "Not personally, but I recognize their species. They are Korvax. Great. More lizard trouble." Jinho was about to get up, but Mirai put a hand on his arm. "Wait. They are not here to cause problems. They are scared." Scared? Of what? Before she could answer, an alarm started ringing across the marketplace. Everyone looked up as a voice announced in multiple languages, "Attention. All beings take shelter. Korvac raiders approaching the planet." The marketplace erupted into chaos as aliens ran for cover, but instead of running, the Korvacs at the nearby table came over to them. "Great one," the leader said to Mirai, bowing his head. "We seek protection. Our own people have gone mad with greed and attacked this neutral world." Jinho stared in confusion. "Great one? Mirai, what are they talking about?" Mirai looked uncomfortable. "It is a term of respect some species use for sanguines." The Korvac continued talking to her in a language Jinho didn't understand. Mirai responded in the same language, her voice carrying a tone of authority he had never heard before. Suddenly, the sky filled with ships, but they weren't Korvac raiders. They were sleek black vessels that moved like nothing Jinho had ever seen. They appeared out of nowhere and surrounded the incoming raider ships. "What's happening?" Jinho asked. Mirai stood up, and for a moment she seemed different. Taller somehow, more commanding. "The raiders will be dealt with. Your outpost is safe." Before Jinho could ask more questions, his communicator buzzed with an emergency message from Siakman. "All personnel return to base immediately. We're getting reports of defensive systems activating around our outpost. Systems we don't have." As they hurried back to the human base, Jinho saw impossible things. Energy shields were forming around important buildings. Weapon systems that definitely weren't there yesterday were rising from hidden places in the ground. The air itself seemed to shimmer with some kind of protective field. "Jinho," Sugman called as he arrived. "Where have you been?" "Someone has turned our little outpost into a fortress, and we have no idea who or how." "Sir, what's our status?" "That's the weird part. We're completely safe. Whatever those systems are, they're designed to protect us, not attack anyone else. The Korvac raiders took one look at our defenses and decided to attack easier targets." Taehyun came running up with a data pad. "Sir, you need to see this." "I've been monitoring communications, and the raider attack is already over. Someone sent a fleet of advanced ships that made the Korvacs surrender without firing a shot." "Who?" Seokman demanded. "That's just it, sir. The ships aren't from any known military. They're completely unmarked. But the raiders are calling them the Dark Fleet, and they're absolutely terrified." Jinho thought about Mirai's strange behavior and the way the Korvacs had treated her with such respect. A crazy idea was forming in his mind, but it seemed impossible. That evening he went back to the marketplace, hoping to find Mirai and get some answers. She was there, waiting by the fruit stand as if nothing had happened. "Interesting day," he said carefully. "Yes, but everything worked out well." She seemed nervous, like she was hiding something. "Mirai, those Korvacs called you Great One. And then mysterious ships showed up to save the day." "That's quite a coincidence." She was quiet for a long time. "Jinho, there are things about my people that are difficult to explain." "We prefer to keep to ourselves. Are you in some kind of trouble?" "Because if you need help," she smiled sadly. "You are very kind. But I think you would be surprised to learn that I am not the one who needs protection." Before he could ask what she meant, she touched his hand gently. Again, that strange electric feeling passed between them. "I should go. My people will be looking for me." As she walked away, Jinho noticed something he had missed before. Other aliens in the marketplace didn't just watch her with respect or fear. They watched her the way people watched royalty. Back at the outpost, Taehyun was still trying to figure out where their new defensive systems had come from. "Sir, the technology is unlike anything in our databases. It's at least 50 years ahead of anything the Coalition has. Keep digging," Sukman ordered. "Someone is looking out for us, and I want to know who and why." What none of them knew was that high above the planet, in the flagship of the mysterious Dark Fleet, Mirai was having a very different conversation with her advisors. "Empress," said an ancient sanguine with silver hair, "your interest in this human settlement is causing talk among the other species. They wonder why the ruler of the Sanguine Dominion would personally protect such a small outpost. Mirai looked down at the planet where a simple human soldier was probably writing his daily report, completely unaware that his casual friendship had changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Sometimes, Nari, she said quietly, the most important connections are the ones that happen by accident. 2 months after the mysterious defense systems appeared, the Galactic Coalition called an emergency meeting. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered on Valdris Prime to discuss what they called the Earth situation. Jinho didn't understand why his small outpost had become so important. Earth's ambassador, a nervous woman named Director Han, arrived with a large security team and many questions. Sergeant Kim, she said during their first meeting, your reports mention friendly contact with various alien species. Can you tell me about any relationships that might explain our sudden change in status? Jinho thought about Mirai. He had continued to meet with her regularly and their friendship had grown deeper. She was intelligent, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in human culture, but he still knew very little about her background. I've made some friends among the local traders, ma'am. Nothing unusual. Sergeant, in the past 2 months, Earth has received trade offers worth more than our entire planetary budget. 3 major species have offered military alliances. Someone is backing us and we need to know who. Before Jinho could respond, Taehyun burst into the room. Director, we have a problem. A VIP transport just entered the system. The identification codes. They're from the Sanguine Dominion. Director Han went pale. The Sanguines? Are you certain? Yes, ma'am. They're requesting permission to land for the coalition meeting. Jinho had heard whispers about the Sanguines during his time on Valdris Prime. They were an ancient species that rarely involved themselves in galactic politics. Most aliens spoke of them with a mixture of fear and respect. Why would the Sanguines come to a coalition meeting? Director Han asked. They've been neutral for centuries. Maybe they're finally ready to join galactic society, Taehyun suggested. Or maybe they're here because of us, the director said grimly. Sergeant Kim, I want you on the security detail when their representative arrives. You know this station better than anyone. An hour later, Jinho stood with other security personnel in the main docking bay. The Sanguine transport was unlike any ship he had ever seen. It was pure black and seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. When it landed, the air around it grew noticeably colder. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. First came 4 guards in dark armor, their faces hidden behind helmets. They moved with inhuman grace and speed. Then came an elderly woman with silver hair and pale skin like Mirai's. She wore flowing robes and carried herself with obvious authority. Behind her came more guards. And finally, Jinho's world stopped. Mirai stepped out of the ship, but she looked nothing like the friendly trader he knew. She wore an elaborate black and silver outfit that clearly marked her as someone very important. A thin crown rested on her head, and her usual warm expression was replaced by the cold mask of royalty. Their eyes met across the docking bay. For a moment, the careful diplomatic facade slipped, and he saw surprise and something that might have been pain in her purple eyes. Presenting her Imperial Majesty, Empress Mirai Veltar, ruler of the Sanguine Dominion, protector of the Outer Rim, and guardian of the ancient ways, announced one of the guards. The words hit Jinho like a physical blow. Empress, his friend Mirai, who liked to discuss Earth movies and asked innocent questions about human customs, was the ruler of one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. Director Han stepped forward and bowed deeply. Your Majesty, Earth is honored by your presence. Mirai's voice was formal and distant. Director Han, we come to address the Coalition's concerns about recent changes in galactic politics. As the delegation moved toward the meeting chambers, Mirai walked past Jinho without acknowledgement. But he caught the slight nod she gave him, so small that only someone watching carefully would notice. The Coalition meeting was chaos. Representatives demanded to know why the Sanguines were suddenly interested in galactic affairs. Some accused Earth of making secret deals. Others worried that human expansion was happening too quickly. The Sanguine Dominion has remained neutral for 800 years, said the Zentari ambassador. Why break that neutrality now? The elderly woman with silver hair, Jinho learned her name was Nari, stood to answer. The galaxy is changing. New species bring new ideas. Perhaps it is time we reconsidered our isolation. And what does this have to do with the humans? Demanded a reptilian delegate. Before Nari could answer, Mirai rose from her seat. When she spoke, every being in the room listened. We have observed humanity since they joined the coalition. They show qualities that are interesting to us. What qualities? Asked Director Han. Courage without cruelty, strength without oppression. They help others not for profit, but because they believe it is right. Jinho realized she was talking about their first meeting when he had helped her with the Korvax. She was describing that moment to the most powerful beings in the galaxy, as if it represented all of humanity. The meeting continued for hours. Various species aired their complaints and concerns. Through it all, Mirai maintained her royal composure, giving diplomatic answers that revealed nothing. Finally, the session ended. As delegates filed out, Jinho found himself alone in a side corridor. He wasn't surprised when Mirai appeared, having somehow slipped away from her guards. "Hello, Jinho." Her voice was soft again, like the friend he knew. "Your Majesty," he said, not knowing what else to say. "Please, not you. Not when we are alone. I don't know what to call you anymore. Everything I thought I knew. I am still the same person you met in the marketplace. The person who enjoys talking with you about Earth movies and human food. You're the Empress of the Sanguine Dominion. You could probably conquer half the galaxy if you wanted to." Mirai looked sad. "Perhaps. But power means nothing if you have no one to share simple moments with. Do you know how long it had been since someone treated me as just another person? Not as a ruler to be feared or a symbol to be worshipped, but as someone worth knowing. Why didn't you tell me? Because then you would have treated me differently. You would have been careful with your words, formal in your manner. I would have lost the only real friendship I have ever had." They stood in silence for a moment. Finally, Jinho extended his fist toward her, just like that first day in the marketplace. "Friends?" he asked. Mirai smiled, the first genuine smile he had seen from her all day. She bumped his fist with hers, and again that electric feeling passed between them. "Friends," she agreed. "But this changes everything, doesn't it? I mean, for Earth, for the coalition." "Yes, it does. My people are not known for forming personal attachments to other species. The fact that we have, it will have consequences. Good consequences or bad ones. That remains to be seen." A soft chime indicated that someone was approaching. Mirai stepped back and her royal mask returned. "I must go. My advisors will be looking for me." She paused. "Jinho, whatever happens in the coming days, remember that our friendship is real. Everything else is just politics." As she walked away, Jinho realized that his simple act of kindness in a marketplace had somehow changed the course of galactic history. He was no longer just a soldier keeping the peace. He was the human who had befriended an empress. Back in the meeting chambers, Nari was waiting for Mirai. "The human knows now," the elder advisor said. "Yes. And we will see if friendship can survive the weight of crowns." Outside in the human outpost, Director Han was making urgent calls to Earth. The situation had become far more complicated than anyone had imagined. Somewhere in the galaxy, other species were already planning how to use this information to their advantage. But in that moment, Jinho was thinking about purple eyes and the electric feeling of a simple fist bump that had started everything. The weeks following the revelation were the hardest of Jinho's life. Earth Command recalled him for immediate questioning. He spent days in small rooms with officials who wanted to know every detail of his relationship with Empress Mirai. "Sergeant Kim," said General Park, a stern woman with gray hair, "do you understand the position you've put Earth in? Every major species in the galaxy is now watching us because of your friendship with the Sanguine ruler." "I was just being friendly, ma'am. I had no idea who she was. That's exactly the problem. You formed a personal relationship with one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, and now everyone assumes it was planned." The questioning went on for hours each day. They wanted to know what Mirai had told him about Sanguine military capabilities, their technology, their plans. Jinho tried to explain that they had mostly talked about movies and food, but the officials didn't believe him. "Empress Mirai has upgraded your outpost's defenses with technology that's decades ahead of anything we have," said Dr. Kim, the chief intelligence analyst. "She's offered Earth exclusive trading rights worth trillions of credits. You expect us to believe this is all because you were nice to her? That's exactly what I'm telling you, sir." Meanwhile, on the Sanguine homeworld, Mirai was facing her own interrogation. The Council of Elders had gathered in the ancient chamber where they had made important decisions for over 1,000 years. "Empress," said Counselor Daewon. his voice cold with disapproval. Your actions have endangered our people's carefully maintained neutrality. Other species now see us as having chosen sides. Mirai sat on the obsidian throne that had been in her family for generations. I have chosen to help a species that shows promise. That is within my authority as Empress. Your authority does not extend to personal relationships that affect galactic politics, said another counselor. The human military officer is a security risk. Jinho Kim is not a risk. He is honest, honorable, and kind, qualities that are rare in the galaxy. Nari, the oldest of the council, spoke carefully. Majesty, we understand that isolation can be lonely, but personal feelings cannot guide policy that affects billions of lives. And what if they should? Mirai stood, her voice carrying the authority of centuries of rule. What if the cold calculations that have kept us neutral have also kept us from growing? From learning? The argument was interrupted by urgent news. Korvac forces had launched a major offensive against several coalition worlds. Intelligence reports suggested they were being backed by a secret alliance of species that feared the new human-sanguine relationship. They're trying to force us to choose sides, Daewon observed. If we help the coalition, we abandon our neutrality. If we don't, the humans will think we've abandoned them. The humans will be slaughtered, Mirai said flatly. Their technology is advanced for their age, but they're still a young species. They cannot stand against a coordinated attack. That is not our problem, another counselor replied. We have maintained peace for 8 centuries by staying out of others' wars. And how many species have died while we maintained our perfect neutrality? Back on Valdris Prime, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Korvac ships were attacking human settlements on the outer rim. Earth's small fleet was fighting bravely, but was clearly outmatched. Jinho had been returned to active duty, but now he led a mixed unit of human soldiers and alien volunteers who wanted to help defend the coalition worlds. The irony wasn't lost on him. His friendship with an empress had made Earth important enough to have allies. Sir, Toihyun reported during a strategy meeting, we're getting reports that the Korvacs are specifically targeting places where humans and sanguines have had contact. They're not just trying to win territory. They're trying to break the connection between our species. Seokmin nodded grimly. They know that if they can make this war about the human-sanguine alliance, they can turn other species against us. The decisive moment came when Korvac forces launched a surprise attack on Valdris Prime itself. They bypassed the planet's defenses using inside information, suggesting they had help from other species. Jinho found himself back in the marketplace where he had first met Mirai, but now it was a war zone. Buildings were burning and civilians were running for shelter. His unit was trying to evacuate non-combatants when they were surrounded by Korvac soldiers. "Surrender, humans," called the Korvac commander. "Your vampire friends are not here to protect you now." "We don't need protection," Jinho replied, checking his weapon. "We can take care of ourselves." The battle was fierce. Humans might be smaller than Korvacs, but they were faster and smarter. Jinho's unit used urban warfare tactics that confused the larger aliens. But they were outnumbered, and gradually they were forced back to the ruins of the old fruit stand where everything had started. Just when the situation seemed hopeless, the sky darkened. Black ships appeared overhead, the Sanguine fleet. But this time they weren't just observing. Landing craft dropped from the ships and Sanguine soldiers poured out. But these weren't just any soldiers. Leading them was Mirai herself, no longer dressed as an empress but wearing battle armor that looked both ancient and deadly. "Empress!" Jinho called out as she fought her way toward his position. "You shouldn't be here." "Where else would I be?" she replied, using superhuman speed to disarm 3 Korvacs at once. "My friend is in danger." Fighting alongside each other, humans and sanguines proved to be in deadly combination. Human tactical thinking combined with sanguine physical abilities created strategies that neither species could achieve alone. When the dust settled, the Korvac forces were in full retreat. But the cost was high. Many buildings in the marketplace were destroyed, and casualties were heavy on both sides. As medics tended to the wounded, Jinho and Mirai found themselves sitting on the rubble of the fruit stand where they had first met. "You gave up your neutrality," Jinho said. "Your people will never forgive you, perhaps. But some things are more important than political convenience." "Like what?" Mirai looked at him with those purple eyes that had changed his life. "Like friendship. Like doing what's right instead of what's safe." What happens now? Now we face the consequences. My council will demand explanations. Your government will want guarantees. Other species will choose sides. Do you regret it? Meeting me, I mean. Mirai was quiet for a long moment. You gave me something I had never had before, a reason to care about someone other than myself. How could I regret that? A communication device buzzed. It was a message from the Galactic Coalition headquarters. The emergency session was being called to address the new reality. The galaxy's most powerful neutral species had chosen a side. Ready for another diplomatic crisis? Jinho asked. Mirai stood and offered him her hand. As ready as one can be for changing the course of history. As they walked toward the Coalition building, other species watched them with fear, anger, and calculation. The galaxy was about to become a very different place, all because a soldier had decided to help a stranger, and an empress had discovered what it meant to have a friend. Behind them, the ruins of the marketplace still smoldered, but already aliens were coming together to begin rebuilding. Human engineering teams worked alongside sanguine construction crews, with volunteers from a dozen other species helping however they could. Maybe, Jinho thought, friendship really could change the galaxy. 6 months after the Battle of Valdris Prime, the galaxy was still adjusting to its new reality. The Korvac offensive had failed, but it had forced every species to choose sides. Some supported the new human-sanguine alliance, while others opposed it. A few tried to remain neutral, but neutrality was becoming harder to maintain. Jinho stood in the rebuilt marketplace, watching construction crews put the finishing touches on a new monument. It was a simple sculpture showing 2 hands meeting in friendship, one human, one sanguine. The inscription read in multiple languages. Sometimes the smallest gestures change everything. Do you like it? Mirai asked, walking up beside him. She was dressed casually again, the way she had been when they first met. No crown, no royal robes, just a simple outfit that let her blend in with the crowd. It's perfect, Jinho replied, though I still can't believe they built a monument to a fist bump. It's not about the gesture. It's about what it represents. The past months had been difficult for both of them. Earth's government had finally accepted that their connection to the Sanguine Empress was real and valuable, but they still didn't fully understand it. Mirai's council had been harder to convince. 3 of the older counselors had resigned in protest, and several others continued to question her decisions. Any word from your council today? Jinho asked. Daewon is still angry about the trade agreements. He thinks we're giving Earth too much access to our technology. Are we? Mirai smiled. Probably. But Earth is using it well. Your species has a gift for taking advanced concepts and finding new ways to apply them. It was true. Human engineers had taken sanguine defensive technology and improved it in ways that surprised even its creators. In return, human tactical knowledge had helped the Sanguines develop new strategies that made their already formidable military even more effective. Empress, called a voice from across the marketplace. It was one of Mirai's guards, looking worried. We have urgent news from the Outer Rim. Mirai's expression became serious. What is it? The Zentari have attacked the Corvan system. They're claiming it's retaliation for Corvan support of the Korvacs. But intelligence suggests they're really testing our response. Jinho felt his stomach drop. The Zentari were one of the most powerful trading species in the galaxy. If they were willing to risk war with the Human Sanguine Alliance, it meant the opposition was getting bolder. How many ships? Mirai asked. 12 battlecruisers and support vessels. The Corvan Defense Fleet is asking for help. Mirai looked at Jinho. What do you think? It still surprised him when she asked for his opinion on military matters. But over the months, their partnership had evolved beyond friendship. His understanding of human nature and her knowledge of galactic politics had proven to be a powerful combination. It's a test, he said. If we respond too weakly, they'll think we're not committed to our allies. If we respond too strongly, we look like aggressors. Agreed. But the Corvans trusted us enough to ask for help. We can't abandon them. What about a joint response? Human tactical planning? Sanguine firepower but focused on defense rather than attack? Mirai nodded. Send word to the fleet. We'll move to defend Corvan space, but we won't pursue the Zentari back to their own territory. As the guard hurried away to relay the orders, Jinho realized how naturally they had fallen into working together. It wasn't just personal anymore. Their friendship had become a new model for interspecies cooperation. The response to the Zentari attack went exactly as planned. The combined human sanguine fleet arrived in Corvin space, just as the attackers were preparing for a second wave. Faced with opponents who combined human unpredictability with sanguine power, the Zentari withdrew rather than risk a full battle. But the real victory came afterward. 3 other species offered to join the defense pact, saying they preferred the new alliance's approach to the old system of every species for itself. "We're changing things," Mirai said as they reviewed the diplomatic responses, "not just making alliances, but creating a new way for species to work together." "Is that good or bad?" "I think it's necessary. The galaxy has been stuck in the same patterns for centuries: fear, isolation, competition for resources. Maybe it's time to try cooperation instead." That evening, they attended a celebration in the human outpost. Earth Command had finally sent proper supplies and equipment, along with a larger diplomatic team. Seokmin had been promoted to major, and Taehyun was now the senior communications officer for the entire sector. "Remember when our biggest problem was filing supply reports?" Taehyun said, raising a glass of actual Earth beer that had arrived on the latest transport. "Those were simpler times," Seokmin agreed. "Though I have to admit this is more interesting." Jinho looked around the room at the mixed group of humans and aliens. 6 months ago, most of these species had barely spoken to each other. Now they were planning joint missions and sharing technology. "What are you thinking about?" Mirai asked. "Just how weird my life has become. A year ago I was a simple soldier. Now I'm apparently some kind of diplomatic advisor to an empress." "You were never a simple soldier, Jinho. You just didn't know it yet." Later that night, as the party wound down, Jinho and Mirai walked out to the platform overlooking the city. The lights of dozens of different species twinkled below them, creating a pattern that was both alien and beautiful. "Do you think it will work?" Jinho asked. "This alliance, this new way of doing things?" "I don't know," Mirai admitted. "Change is always dangerous. Some species will fight against it, others will try to use it for their own gain. There will be setbacks and failures, but for the first time in my very long life, I have hope that the galaxy can be better than it was." A shooting star streaked across the alien sky, and Jinho made a wish the way his grandmother had taught him as a child. He wished for peace, for understanding, and for the friendship that had started everything to survive whatever challenges lay ahead. "Ready for tomorrow's challenges?" Mirai asked. Jinho extended his fist toward her, the same gesture that had changed both their lives. "With you, I'm ready for anything." She bumped his fist with hers, and that familiar electric feeling passed between them. But now it represented something bigger than friendship. It was the connection between 2 species learning to trust each other, between old ways and new possibilities, between the fear of the unknown and the courage to try something different. In the months that followed, the Human Sanguine Alliance would face many tests. Some species would join them, others would oppose them, and a few would try to destroy them. There would be victories and defeats, moments of doubt and times of triumph, but it all started with a simple, human gesture of friendship and an alien empress who learned that sometimes the most powerful thing in the galaxy is someone who treats you like a person rather than a symbol. As they walked back toward the outpost, other beings watched them from windows and doorways, some with fear, some with hope, some with curiosity about what these 2 unlikely friends might accomplish next. The galaxy was changing, one fist bump at a time. In the rebuilt marketplace, the monument to friendship stood under the alien stars, its simple message glowing softly in the darkness. Sometimes the smallest gestures change everything, and they did.